So it's been a while since the last video. I had no intention of spreading it out this long. To spare the details, it's been a long year. But that's not why we came here. So let's discuss the changes of this wet wasteland. The map of the world changes, showing how life has flourished. Just as a recap, the 6 keystone species include rabbits, turtles, fish, herons, ducks, and frogs. In addition, we have various invertebrates to fill in other niches. As life spreads throughout the land, they start to adapt to the marsh. The planet now has a few regions of differing biomes. Most are intuitive, but the few that aren't I'll explain. The term lachypelagos is a fusion of the Latin lacus and archipelago, which, if you put 2 and 2 together, you get an archipelago of a small body of water. Because 5 out of 6 of these organisms have their lives revolve around water, they cling to their earthly behaviors for much of the beginning millennia. However, the rabbits are the pioneers of, well, pioneering, and explore the world, abandoning most of their old ways. The rabbits embark in the open world, forming nomadic warrens and adapting to the various environments the swampscapes have to offer. A new branch of rabbits is formed, called Gre Rabbits. These generalist Gre Rabbits adapt to the diverse terrain of the Pond Planet. They've evolved longer legs to easily move through the muddy waters, avoiding sinking or trudging. Their ears become less pronounced, still very large in comparison to the rest of the body, but smaller due to no active predation at this stage. They live mostly in these regions, but with diminishing resources and just general curiosity, they spread throughout. In the mountains, they would evolve a much denser coat and thicker skin to insulate themselves at the freezing temperatures. These mountain Gre become great foragers, being naturally attuned to finding fresh shrubbery and roots to gnaw on. As a result, their teeth become pronounced. Uprooting vegetation is a general trend for these large rabbit species. More equatorial are 2 species in the dry and humid regions. These Gre rabbits are more accustomed to the pests and weather of their regions. They live in humid areas, adopting thick fur to bravely walk through mosquito clouds that haunt the region, without fear of being sucked dry. The other species lose most of its fur, opting for a more naked skin, adapting to the heat of the drylands. Their ears drape over them as they lumber through the arid plains, searching for beta ponds. Their long tails swat any pesky flies, and their floppy ears are akin to African elephants and disperse heat. There is another Gre rabbit not yet mentioned that also inhabits the drylands along this one, but it will be more relevant later near the end of the Agriopic Era. Ducks can be considered the second pioneer megafauna. Although they love to swim, the ponds aren't going anywhere, but the food is. So ducks, also great foragers, spread far and wide, evolving into Gre ducks, taking up another vanilla form. These Gre are less reliant on the water, better foragers, and flies. At this point, a large population of ducks finds home up north in the far ponds and tundra, without much migration to or from it, giving rise to an isolated species of Gre duck. These tundra Gre duck peck and prod among the lichens and hardy shrubs, taking baths in the warm springs and engaging in complicated dance numbers to woo their mates. These will be the founding members of a very important genus. Of course, not all ducks have abandoned their lakely way of life. In fact, most haven't. These Gre are the most common ducks. Their plumage and coloration are as vibrant as the birds of paradise in our Amazons. Over-the-top beauty is something they can afford, so some bizarre or impractical forms can come about. Some Gre ducks take it a step further, going 10 toes into the water, relying primarily on an aquatic lifestyle. These penguin ducks indulge in the buffet of fish found in the gigaponds. The Gre minnows, or grinos, have entire oceans to themselves. Well, not entirely. There are still invertebrates they must compete with. But when your only competitor is a shrimp, you kind of go your separate ways, taking whatever niche is easiest to come by, adapting to the various salt levels, depths, populations, environments, temperatures, foods, mates, and other resources. So it's obvious to see why each pond has the chance to hold a special kind of grino. Some are small and unnoticeable, some are fast and powerful, and some are grand and shark-like, becoming the first kings of the sea. The algae of the planet has also diversified into beautiful kelp forests. These forests are known for their vast size in both presence and distance, while on the surface floats massive beds of algae. In the smaller, beta ponds, it's common to find the ground is deceptive, as riverbed grass covers the surface of these small ponds, becoming a great cloak for shy fish or perfect cover for ambush hunters. The turtles are on the slow end of change. Not only are their lifespans the longest of any organism on the planet, their life is also the simplest, so they're the last to diversify. Their first branch earns them longer legs, as they explore more inland and around higher ground away from the ponds. They find delight in eating the waterbell shrubs. These shrubs offer the turtles enough nutrients and water to keep them foraging until they find a better source of water. The longer legs don't mean anything at this point, other than they can navigate more comfortably on land. The next is the swamp dragon genus. They've taken to hiding in the murky floors of the ponds and ambushing fish and food that pass by. Aside from herons, these will become their other obligate carnivores. They don't spend forever underwater, but they can spend just over an hour in the same spot before coming up for air to bask on the shores. Things really start to pick up for these neo-crocodilians when they figure out they can ambush other residents of the shallows instead of just fish. The other turtles find themselves in a similar predicament, although two major branches emerge, one from Fisky and one from Allo. We can break them up into farmer and scuba turtles. The farmers are local, feeding in the kelp forest and richly colored algal reefs close to the shoreline, while the scuba turtles venture outwards. Allo's waters are more active, the waves more violent, and coasts less lush with kelp forest life. So the turtles dive further. They feed on small invertebrates growing steadily as they can, working their way up to catching fish. This is a remarkable shift from normal turtle behavior. They are much faster swimmers as they actively hunt fish. But fish only make up a small percentage of their diet, as these hunts aren't often successful. So they rely on the neocrustaceans of the Allo floor, and the sea sausages or seasages, squishy kelp nutrient deposits. All this isn't to say that turtles have entirely abandoned their slow, lumbery way of life. The common turtle is an extant genus that still thrives in many regions of the planet. The frogs are a tight-knit and loud species. They become highly territorial as more frogs start claiming ponds as theirs. Living in the humid regions of Fisky's jungles, the frogs find themselves under the cover of the hyper-wing trees. These trees create shaded ecosystems for the frogs and other pond dwellers. Above the frogs are also clouds of hundreds of mosquitoes. These mosquito clouds are a great source of food for the frogs. They clamber up the draped wing tree leaves, and then they leap into the clouds, catching what they can. This way of life has led to a body plan that extends their airtime, and spreads their tongues out, and their mouths wider. Alongside this, other frogs battle in the ultimate duels of thrashing and throwing for dominance of the ponds, come mating season. But when you walk through the lower Allo forest, you hear the choirs of croaks of hundreds of different frogs. The shores of Fisky see some great adaptation for their isolated frog population. Alongside the farmer turtles, the Fisky frogs feast on small invertebrates, most of the population spending a large amount of time underwater growing longer, more muscular legs. But the other portion prefer a shoreline-based life, even if it means running from herons now and again. They fill their days just basking and occasionally stepping into the water to cool off or catch a shrimp. The frogs, being highly territorial, bully other organisms that venture near their rock pools. It's not uncommon to see a large frog mobbing a duck because it wants to dip its toes into the safety of the rock pools. The same can't be said for herons, who have greatly diversified their palate, which we will find out in the next episode as we enter the end of the Agriopic and step foot into a new age, an age of predation, specialization, and codependence. I'd like to just end off this video by saying thank you for those who have waited, and welcome to those who have joined. Thanks for indulging this project of mine, and I'll see you again next year. I'm just joking. I will see you again soon. Don't know how soon, but expect more videos.